Hi, this is Gecko Mayhem. This is a Raid Shadow Legends video, but it's also a Godforge video. I want to cover 5 things that Raid does well, or 5 things that they got right in developing the game, in releasing the game, in building an audience. To begin with, I want to look at champions. It's a good place to start. What they did right in terms of champions is that they released from the outset a vast array of champions, but they've expanded on that over time and continued to introduce new champions. And between the way that they provide champions for people and just the amount of champions, the diversity of the champions, the feeling that you get when you pull a legendary, and for the whales and krakens, the feeling that they get when they pull a mythical champion, it's just something that they really did get right. And I think that champion design in this game is excellent as well. There are 15 different factions in the game. When it was released, there were 12. And then they released the dwarves. And a while later, maybe a couple of years later, they released the Shadowkin. And then a couple of years ago, maybe 3 years ago, they released the Sylvan Watchers. 6 years on, and they still haven't released the last faction. So plenty more designs, plenty more creativity to come. And the champions in Raid are so diverse. Within the Skinwalkers alone, there are just so many different types of creature that they've used. Rabbit, panda, rat, bird. It's just pretty incredible what they did with character design overall. Releasing fusions where you can fuse together characters. They do fusions periodically, so multiple times a year you can fuse champions. You can use your shards to pull champions. That's usually how people get them. But just overall, the fact that there is such a diverse range of champions, and some of them have really unique abilities, really unique skills that can just synergize in different ways. One other thing they did right is that if you pull a champion, so let's say I pop an ancient shard, and then you go, well, what does this champion do? And you take a look at their skills, and you're like, where can I use this guy? Oh, maybe there's a boss in the Doom Tower. Maybe I can use that champion in that area. And so as you get to know the skills and you get to know the champions, you use them in different areas of the game, and you build teams around that. You have a bit of an idea of where you want to use the champions, but you can try it out. You can talk to the community. You can find out, well, where can I use my champion? The other thing is the buffs and the debuffs that champions place and use, and it's just been expanded over time. So, for example, I remember a long time ago when I first pulled my Duchess, it was not too long after they introduced a skill called Perfect Veil, and Veil, so Veil and Perfect Veil, but these buffs did not exist in the game when it first came out. The same with increased accuracy, potentially increased crit rate, I'm not sure. But there are buffs and debuffs that have been added to the game over time that are part of champions kits, and they've just diversified and been really creative with what champions can and can't do. Another really good example of a niche character is Lady Annabelle. I built mine to solo a particular boss, and it is Bommel, the Rhino bomb boss in Doom Tower, and I think she can solo hard. So she's got 80,000. She's got 80,000 health. She's got decent enough defense. She's got enough speed for, I believe, hard Bommel, and she's got enough accuracy. So I've built her to be able to solo a boss. And this is one thing that I think is really cool in a game like this. The second thing that I want to talk about that Raid got right is that it provides a huge range of content, and it provides regular updates. In terms of content, you've got your types of battle. Now, at the outset, the campaign, I believe, only went up to Brutal. They added Nightmare later. Dungeons did not have this Iron Twins Fortress, and they did not have Sand Devils and Phantom Shoguns. They had all the others. They had the Keeps, and they had the Dragon, the Ice Golem, the Classics. They had the Classics, and they had Minotaur's Labyrinth. They added Faction Wars after the release of the game, and you could do the whole Faction Wars chase to get Lydia. New content, new factions, new champions. They added mythical champions, for example. With Primal Shards, you can summon potentially summon mythical champions, an entire new type of champion that they added to the game. So this is the thing, they have tournaments, events. The arena was originally just an arena, but now it's called Classic Arena because they have both live arena and tag team arena. Clan bosses. The clan boss used to be just the Demon Lord, but they added the Hydra a few years ago, and they've added the Chimera since I quit the game and came back. They added the Doom Tower. People were speculating, what is this thing going to be? So new content that is being added to the game constantly, including new champions. So the third thing that I want to talk about is challenges. The challenge of learning the game and excelling at the game. And it requires strategy. So a mix of team composition, who you're putting in your team, how you're building your champions in terms of gear and masteries, and managing your resources to achieve your goals. Strategically using your resources at the right time. But another side of the strategy of the game, of facing the challenges, is in the content. And so you need to learn, what do these keeps do and how do I conquer them with the champions that I have, because they do different things. How do I face the Iron Twins fortress and how do I beat this boss? What is the strategy that I take? How do I build my team? And then you've got your dungeons, and I still, because I just came back, I haven't worked out the hard dungeons, but I was farming back in the day stage 25, just farming stage 25 with my teams. And so I built a dragon team based on the gear I had and the champions I had. I built a Fire Knight team based on the gear I had and the champions I had. So it takes advantage of what the boss is weak to and what's going to enable you to beat that boss. And I think that's something fantastic that Raid has done. It encourages players to strategize. One of the most strategic areas of the game is something that I absolutely hate. It's live arena. I liken live arena to a chess game. It feels like you're playing chess because at the outset you have to try to predict what your opponent is going to do. And if you can't predict well, then you're on the back foot from the outset. If you kind of predict, but they lock out the wrong champion for you, then you might shoot yourself in the foot anyway. So it's like it's like the Raid version of chess. And I think Live Arena is an excellent addition to the game. I just happen to hate it. The fourth point I want to make that Raid does well is community. Now, people might jump up and say, wait, they haven't talked to their community. They don't listen. Over the years, they haven't implemented everything we asked for, blah, blah, blah. When I say community, I just mean in general, building a community around the game. They've allowed that, and it kind of starts with clans. So clan/community. Now, they encourage clans to form, right? The game itself is designed around encouraging clans to form. So you want to work together, as I said before, and pointing out all the different areas of the game to beat the clan boss. So you work together to conquer the clan boss. Well, the clan boss is, because Hydra is a lot more coordinated because they have this thing called Hydra Clash. So you have coordination, and depending on the strength of your clan, you may have to coordinate when to use a key so that you don't push it to its affinity, so that people have a fair chance against Void. On Hydra, you may coordinate a particular Hydra to take down because of the different teams that are in your clan. And clans are given the choice. How much are you going to talk to the people in your clan? How much are you going to coordinate what's going on? Clan versus clan. Fantastic addition to the game. If you lose, you still get stuff, right? You got these rewards along the way. I've claimed all of them already. But you get these rewards along the way. It tells you what the bonus objectives are, and you're competing against another clan. Community means the clans that form, but also the communities that have been built up around learning the game, loving the game, understanding the game, learning about the ins and outs of how to strategize, I think, and the community always gets behind a bit of theory crafting and a bit of attempting stuff and trying really weird things. It's basically what put me on to using Lady Annabelle to solo Bommel. Things like that, where people have talked about it and communicated it. Now that's not on Raid, it's not on Playrium who created the game. That's people taking initiative to form a community. But I still think that the game Raid has encouraged a great gaming community. And so that's something that was done right and done well. The last thing that I would like to cover that it's done well is the cost. And the cost of playing this game is nothing. It's optional. So for me, I am a 100% free-to-play player. I have not spent money on this game. I have 18 Sacred Shards, 39 Void Shards, and 625 Ancient Shards. I have a handful of Legendaries, a few Epics, all built to level 60, a few Legendaries I don't use, Epics and Legendaries, so you see Legendaries scattered throughout, and then all of these Legendaries that I just don't use, that are just sitting in my vault. I have all these champions. I've got, I guess, reasonable gear on some of them, and some of them are built very specifically for specific areas of the game. Now I've done all this and managed to use my resources wisely and build up resources, but I've done all this just from playing, and it hasn't cost me anything but time and engaging with the community and learning about the game. So ultimately, it's a good business model because you can choose to buy packs, you can choose to support the game, you can choose if you're going to put money in so that you can get further in the arena, but why go beyond Gold 5 if you're not super competitive? I'm not competitive. I just sit in Gold 5 each week and then I get my reward at the end of the week. I really love the arena, but I will never compete with people that spend money on the game and get into plat. So I really love that about the game, that you choose whether to spend. You might get FOMO. You might have to go buy a whole lot of Void Packs. You might have to buy a whole lot of Primal Shards so that you get guaranteed Mythicals. But at the end of the day, it's up to you what you spend, whether you spend, and so on, and really how you feel about that. Just to tie things up, I think that this game still has life in it. I think that some things have been done exceptionally well. I think that the way that the characters look and function and everything like that is really cool. I was admiring earlier, the effects and the animations and what the characters were doing and the scrolling battle text as well. Just little touches, the things that Playrium has done in this game and for this game that make it feel like a really cool RPG. And I've always liked the aesthetic, I've always liked the style, and just the timing of the effects, what they look like, what they do, what they're telling you, everything like that. I think it's really a positive. So yeah, that about does it for this video, and I hope that it was informative. I hope that it gave people a bit of insight into what I'm thinking around this. And I am really, really looking forward to Godforge and what Fateless does with Godforge. And I know that they have taken lessons from Raid and other gacha games, and they are aware of these 5 things that Raid does right, including other things Raid does right. And I know that they are going to implement bigger, better, and bolder things in their game that's going to make it an absolute success, a lot of fun, and will build a fantastic community. So thank you for watching, and I'll see you later.